unwanted, very impulsive, make decision very quickly. They are reckless. They have poor judgment. Uh, they make decision very quickly without looking at the consequences. This is typical of bipolar. That's why most bipolar ended up very poor, because they spend their money without any thinking. They act on the spur of the moment. They have racing thought, racing speech. They usually have many failed relations. So when you see somebody who had been divorced many, many times, those are bipolar. When you see somebody changing job, changing career many, many times, those most likely bipolar. Bipolar patient get bored very easily. So you will never probably see a bipolar patient who work 8 to 5. They always want to create. They always want to do things. They always want to change career, change things, because they feel bored if they are in one job. When they are manic, in the manic phase, they exhibit signs of agitation, anxiety. They are restless. They are always in the run. If you see them, they will swarm you with a lot of thought and, mashariya programs. Let's do this, let's do that, let's visit, they always on the run. When they are manic, they have psychomotor agitation, increase in body movement. They laugh easily. They make jokes. Their thinking is speeding very quickly. They can be very argumentative if you deal with them. And they spend a lot of money in the manic phase. Then they go to the depressive phase. In the depressive phase, you see the classical symptom of depression. They are sitting at home, severe psychomotor retardation, slow movement. They don't think well, and they have very, very poor social interaction. So for example, Maggie, when I put her on medication, she became very depressed, but she doesn't want to go to the manic phase. She used to stay at home doing nothing but staying at home, just because every time she gets a little bit up, she will become manic and destroy herself. So she told me in the end that I want to be home, I want to be depressed, because when I get manic, I feel better, but I damage a lot of people around me by arguing with them or spending the rest of money I have for no reason. So bipolar patients live in a yo-yo. So we call it the roller coaster life emotion. One time they are good, one time they are bad. I remember one of my professor was, he was bipolar, a little bit, not too much. So one day you see him, oh, Dr. Ali, he will hug me. We missed you. We need to go and eat hamburger. Please come visit me at home. He keeps talking for 1 hour and greet you with a lot of emotion. The next day you see him and he look at you like this and he said, you know who you are, I never met you before. So this is the typical bipolar. They change. When they are manic, they feel euphoria on the top of the world, ideas coming and leaving their brain, very happy, very cheerful, or become very angry at the same time. And usually their thought come to their brain quickly and leave quickly. They have a lot of business. They want to do a lot of future projects, and always, have failed relation. So the bipolar patient will go into relation very quick and leave very quick, because they don't know how to love somebody. All of their emotion is superficial. So a bipolar male might come to a female and tell her, you are the love of my life. I love you a lot. You are, and feel deeply in love with her. The next day he will tell her, I don't know what happened and I never met you before. So this is how bipolar patient. But the most important part of bipolar also is they spend money without any judgment. One of my patients, he was an American guy who used to live in Sweden. And in Sweden, he made a lot of money. Most bipolar patients will make a lot of money and lose it. So one day he made like $5 million in his projects. And then there was a new company make airplane in Sweden, and he invested in that company. A wise man will not put all the 5 million in one company. So he put all 5 million in one company. 2 weeks later, the company filed for bankruptcy and he lost all of his money in 2 weeks. He came to my clinic and we gave him food because he didn't have food. Now, this is the same guy who was a month ago a billionaire. So this is how bipolar goes. They have a lot of money, but they don't know how to spend it. And they don't remember how they spend it. This is the issues. They become like in a phase where they don't know how they spend it. So when they are manic, they feel euphoric, feel like they are very important man. God had sent them to change the world. So they don't sleep because sleep is a waste of time for them. They want to change the world. Some people, some of them will feel projection. Like if you ask him any question, he knows about everything. He knows about medicine, psychiatry. He knows about medical schools, engineering school. You see him and he will talk about everything. Why? Because they feel like this is unconscious defense mechanism because of their low self-esteem. So psychodynamically, they might feel manic because they have very little low self-esteem inside them, and they want to project that they know everything to protect themselves from that feeling. It's kind of like reaction formation we mentioned before. And you know, when they are manic, they become angry. Sometimes they become verbally abusive, sarcastic, irritable, and their mood always labile. What do I mean by labile? Labile means sometimes happy, sometimes sad, sometimes manic, sometimes. So they are unpredictable. So that professor of mine who used to be my neighbor and my teacher, I don't know how he's going to feel the next day. So sometimes I was cautious to approach him, whether I should be smiling or just look at him and say nothing, because they are unpredictable. When they talk, they have a flight of ideas. They jump from one subject to the other. That might be circumstantial or tangential. So they move around the subject and they talk 1 hour about subject which can be done in 2 minutes. So they keep running around the subject and they will not get to the same subject. They have problem with communication because you cannot let them slow. When they start talking, they keep talking, and you cannot stop them. What is the difference between circumstantiality and tangentiality? This is very important for the exam. So circumstantiality, you talk about the point, but you keep circling around it, but in the end, you talk about it. Tangentiality, you talk about it, but you will never get to the bottom of the talk. So if you want to describe something, you keep talking an hour before you reach what you want to describe. In tangentiality, you keep circling around it and you will never talk about the subject that you are supposed to talk about. As we said, they get bored very easily. That's why they don't stay in love. So if you love somebody who is bipolar, expect that he's going to leave you at any time. Why? Or she? Because they don't have deep feeling. So most likely they have problem in social relation. They usually stay away from social relation because they cannot tolerate the overwhelming responsibility of social relationship. So they leave relation with family or with wife quickly. They get married, have kids, and they leave the marriage easily. They don't have severe connection to their wife or their kids, you know. They don't enjoy sometimes pressure of interaction. And usually the problem is they have inability to work efficiently. So when they are in school or they are in a job, they will not be able to finish anything. So they are lazy at work. They cannot function because their brain is not functioning to the point where they need to function. So they neglect their family. They usually leave their kids, leave their husband, they leave their wife without any responsibility. So they keep going from manic, where they are energetic, having a lot of thought, they become like very emotional. They say a lot of good things about you. They shower you with emotion and love. You know, you see a manic patient, when you see him, he will shower you with a lot of nice talk, nice things. You are the love of my life. You are very, very, very good showering of emotion. The next day or an hours later, they become very helpless, depressed, sad, not eating, and deeply tired and not sleeping. This switch between extreme high and extreme low is typical of bipolar. It might last 2 or 3 weeks in the manic and 2 or 3 months in the depressive phase. So most of them will stay in the depressive phase. That's a problem with the bipolar patient is because the treatment's going to be different if they are manic or they are depressed, but they keep shifting between here and here. So when they are manic, they have sense of grandiosity. They are very important people. Like if you go to Al-Amal Hospital, psychiatric hospital, you will see 20 Mahdi Muntazar there. Most of them feel they are Al-Mahdi Al-Muntazar, or America, they feel like they are Jesus alayhi salam, or they are so important in life. God had sent them in the mission to change the world, and they have this huge self-esteem. They spend a lot of money recklessly. So the first thing when I see a bipolar patient, the most important advice to his family, let him not control his money. They shall not control their money, because if you let them control their money, they will destroy it in one day. They might spend everything they have without looking at the consequences, without very poor judgment in spending money, very impulsive. They usually very destructive. So sometimes not only they destroy themselves, but they destroy their family. Yesterday, I was with a patient. She was from a very wealthy family, but her father destroyed all of the family's wealth and women and drinking and failed, failed projects. So he will go and open a project here and project there, and he was never able to finish them, and he lost all of their money in the millions of dollars, because the problem with if you have a question in the exam, what is the most important advice to the family of the bipolar patient is take away the checkbook from them. This is one of my case. This is 20 years ago. I have a patient named Thelma. And Thelma used to be my patient in the outpatient clinic. She was hospitalized. And Thelma met somebody in the hospital. His name is Rusty. I saw her on Monday evening, and Thelma met Rusty on Monday morning. He was in the hospital with her. He was a drug addict. And Thelma immediately fell in love with him that morning. At noon, they went to the courthouse and got married at noon. In the evening, she came to my clinic, and I swear to God, this is what happened. So Thelma came to my office and she said, Dr. Ali, I found the love of my life. He is the only one who loved me. He is the only one who was able to understand my feeling. He was the one who got deeply in my emotion. This guy that I've been looking for the last 20 years. This is the guy, and this is the guy. I told her, Thelma, when did you meet him? She said, I met him this morning in the hospital. We were both, she was recovering from bipolar and he was recovering from cocaine and alcohol. And this is how bipolar patients do. They make decision quickly. Of course, 2 weeks later, she divorced him and she was back alone in her misery of depression. So this is what happened in Thelma and most bipolar patients. They make decision like this, quick. They see a beautiful girl, okay, she's the one I've been looking for in the last 50, 100 years. They get married quickly. They don't look at the consequences. They go and one time I had one professor who was manic, and he went and buy a car for 300,000 riyals just in one day. He got regret that later. So please, if there is a noise in the back, please mute your microphone, please. There is somebody who is making a lot of noise. Please mute your microphone. So this is what happened. After they lose their job, they lose their money, they lose their relationship, they go down, deep down, and become very, very depressed, like Maggie. They are frightened again. They don't want to do anything. They go into deep depression, and they will not be able to do anything after that. Most of the time, in fact, bipolar patients ended up broke. They don't have any money. At work, when you see a patient or bipolar at work, they are usually not very productive. Why? Because their brain does not think well. They have what we call a brain fog. A brain fog is when you don't think very well. When you don't, you cannot accomplish anything because your brain is not functioning very well. They cannot concentrate. They stay away from work a lot. They take a lot of sick leave. You give them a project and they will not be able to finish. They have mood swings, so they keep moving from happy to sad, sad to happy. But sometimes, they have issues with sexual abuse. So if they are at work, they might be loud. They might, sexually abuse women around them or harass them. Sexual harassment is very common in bipolar patients. And it's subject of a lot of legal issues. They make a lot of mistake. They become angry and predictable. Like this guy he is a boss and he is bipolar, and his coworker doesn't know whether he's happy or angry. He is unpredictable. This is typical of bipolar. Why they do that? Because they don't think before they act. So the main issues with bipolar is we have a frontal lobe or